What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we know the mainstream news, they're not too trustworthy these days, right? We've got hoax after hoax after hoax we could point to and say, oh, well, hang on, that was not real. And they never retract any of their stories. They never apologize for lying to us. They never apologize for not giving us all the facts. They leave out certain facts and push us down a path of destruction that makes us not trust them anymore. And it's stories like what I've got for you guys today that just reinforce this position. And, you know, I am not one to just get on a bandwagon and that's it, y'all. Like, I love giving the corporate press the benefit of the doubt. I love doing that because you kind of got to these days. You kind of got to, okay, are they attempting to tell the truth? Because they don't always lie. Sometimes they don't always push a narrative, right? Especially when reality aligns with their narrative. They're all for giving you all the facts, giving you all the key details, and giving you everything that you want to hear because it aligns with their positions. Now, when it doesn't align with their positions, though, they don't mind pushing a narrative, telling you a story, giving you this broad sense that this is real, this is what is going on, despite this. But this is real. Let's get into it, y'all. Let's get into this. Trump draft executive order would make sweeping changes to the U.S. State Department. Now, I love this, and I'm not going to spoil this for you, even though I kind of already did. You might see where this is going. And I love this because right here under this headline, they give you the key points, but they leave out a certain point. Now, once again, I'm nudging you in a certain direction on this, but check this out. Let's go over these key points right quick. The draft executive order proposes the elimination of all non-essential embassies and consulates in sub-Saharan Africa and the consolidation of regional bureaus around the world. Okay, we've got that, right? It also calls for terminating offices and positions within the department focused on climate, women's issues, democracy, human rights mitigation, and criminal justice. Well, this sounds bad, don't it? Interesting. The full structural reorganization and transition of the State Department should be completed by October 1st per the order. Now, that's fascinating, and I'm not going to lie. That's a halfway decent breakdown, quick little summary, if you will, of what this executive order proposes. Let's go ahead and actually read the news here and actually get the breakdown, if we can actually derive that from what the corporate press is telling us. The Trump administration could soon roll out sweeping changes to the U.S. State Department, according to a draft executive order obtained by CNBC that lays out what it calls a disciplined reorganization of the nation's diplomatic service. The 16-page draft order, which is not dated but appears to be prepared for President Donald Trump's signature. That's a very fascinating point, that is. Doesn't appear to be dated, but appears to be prepared for President Donald Trump's signature. Would dramatically upend the department if it is enacted, shuttering American embassies across southern Africa and eliminating bureaus that work on issues like democracy and human rights, as well as international organizations like the United Nations. That sounds like an authoritarian move of some sort of dictatorial takeover of a liberal democracy, doesn't it? That's exactly what that sounds like. Isolationism and dictatorial takeover of a liberal democracy, all of which align perfectly with how the corporate press and Democrats, the left in general, see Donald Trump, doesn't it? Fascinating that this executive order and all the information surrounding it just so happen to align perfectly with how they view Donald Trump. Interesting, that is, right? The order also details an overhaul to the process for selecting and training U.S. diplomats. According to the order, the changes are intended to streamline mission delivery, project American strength abroad, cut waste, fraud, abuse, and align the department with an America-first strategic doctrine reflecting the priorities of the executive branch. Now, that doesn't sound so dictatorial, does it? No, it doesn't. That actually sounds standard with an America First agenda, doesn't it? Huh. Cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, streamlining mission delivery, right? Because, yeah, we've seen a lot of waste. We've seen a lot of ancillary tentacles of the United States government, if you will, reaching their fingers into places where they probably don't belong, considering all the cuts and nonsense that was found from USAID by Doge. Yes. Yeah. Why do we need some of these programs? Right? Why do we need DEI programs in other countries? Why do we need a transgender opera in Brazil? Why do we need anything of the sort? That was all funded and pushed through USAID by the State Department, because USAID was essentially a co-branch, if you will, of the State Department. This is all very, very fascinating. The draft executive order proposes the elimination of all non-essential embassies and consulates in sub-Saharan Africa and the consolidation of regional bureaus around the world. Current regional bureaus, per the order, would be consolidated under 4 regional corps. Eurasia, including Europe, Russia, and Central Asia. Mideast, including Arab nations, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Latin America, including Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And Indo-Pacific, including East and Southeast Asia, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, and the Maldives. America's diplomatic presence in Canada would be drastically cut under the order. Going forward, State Department operations in Canada would fall under a significantly reduced team delegated as the North American Affairs Office within Secretary of State Marco Rubio's office. The White House did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment on the draft order. The New York Times first reported on the document. Rubio, in response to the article, wrote on X, "This is fake news." Rubio says this is fake news. Now, I wonder why they waited so long to tell us that this is fake news. This entire, everything I just told you is fake, according to Marco Rubio. Once again, who are we to believe in this instance, folks? Who are we to believe? Marco Rubio sees the New York Times report, their article on this, and says this is fake news. Well, you know what? Please expound upon that, my guy, because how much of it is fake news? Is the whole thing fake news? I can't stand this response. It's just fake news. They seem to have, the full response was, it's fake news. They seem to have fallen prey to another hoax. Something to that effect. That's not verbatim, by the way, but it's pretty close. But it's not verbatim because I'm doing that based on memory of me actually reading that post on X. But how much of this is a hoax? Is the entire thing a hoax? Because some of it, once again, like I was saying earlier, the very beginning of this article was crafted to the delight of liberals to elicit a response of outrage from Democrats. Oh, Donald Trump is a dictator, blah, 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 blah. Now, once again, we got to other parts of it where they're talking about streamlining everything and, consolidating some of these embassies and blah, blah, blah. Some of our mission statements need to be streamlined. Our mission delivery, if you will. I'm sorry, I said mission statement. I meant mission delivery. Sometimes I have a way with words and I don't say the correct words, but I try to correct myself as I go. But, some of this sounds, okay, that's a pretty good idea. Let's do this. And then some of it, once again, sounds like, no. It sounds like, hang on. This sounds like turnkey talking points for the left. Oh, he's a dictator, blah, 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 blah. So, once again, Marco Rubio, I would ask you, how about you expound upon this, somebody, instead of just calling it out fake news? How much of it is fake news? Is the entire thing fake news? I'm leaning toward that, sure, there might be an executive order that says some of these things, but I'm kind of leaning toward the entire thing is just fake news and made up at this point, because the trust in the corporate press is getting to a point to where how can we trust these people? They come up with so many hoaxes, right? So much nonsense. They'll take certain facts and just give you specific facts that align with their worldview, and that's it. And they leave out other facts. Once again, there might be an executive order. We have no freaking clue. So this entire story is a waste of freaking time, in my opinion. But once again, it's a waste, not a waste, though, because it gives me the opportunity to make a video pointing out the media manipulation that we have to deal with these days, folks. If you read the news consistently on a daily basis, you are being manipulated like you would not believe, unless you can see it, unless you're able to point it out to yourself. But I always make it a point to read the entire news article, because maybe there's some more information, and there's not, but maybe there's some more information that will help us put all this together and bring us back to reality. The draft order also calls for the termination of offices and positions within the department focused on climate, women's issues, democracy, human rights mitigation, and criminal justice. Now, let's keep going. In addition to the consolidation of embassies and consulates, the order would make fundamental changes to the hiring practices at the department. The long-standing Foreign Service Officer test would be scrapped in favor of an evaluation based in part on whether candidates show alignment with the president's foreign policy vision. Folks, once again, this sounds like a wet dream for liberals. Oh, he's just firing everybody and only hiring loyalists, y'all. The draft order says that the full structural reorganization and transition should be completed by October 1st. It also says that any current foreign service officers or civilian service personnel who do not want to take part in the new regional organization structure or serve the interests of the administration may elect to voluntarily separate from the department through a one-time buyout and transition program until September 30th. Fascinating all this is, isn't it? Fascinating. Love it. How did they get their hands on this? This is the first question I would have to ask, considering Marco Rubio said this is fake news. And, that's notwithstanding that. Maybe expound upon that, my guy, please. But, how did they get their hands on this? Why is there copies of this executive order that are able to be given to the corporate press and say, oh, look at this? Was this done on purpose? Is this being drummed up in such a way that it's making liberals cheer for democracy in the way that they do? They're saying, oh, Donald Trump's a dictator, blah, 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 blah. Are they spinning this in a certain direction? Or is this the truth? Is Donald Trump an actual dictator? We may never know, folks. We may never know. Once again, I always find that, the truth falls somewhere in the middle. A lot of this sounds like very standard stuff. It sounds like, hang on, maybe we don't need to be selling democracy around the world, right? We've had this experiment going on for a long time, and all people have to do is look to our Constitution if they want to make changes to their own country to be better, if you will, because yes, I will say that I am a nationalist, if you will. I think our country is founded upon moral principles that I happen to agree with, and I think those moral principles of this country are better than most countries. As a matter of fact, yes, I will say that. Not to say that the people of these countries are any better or any worse than anybody else. That's not the argument, folks. It's not the people of the nation. It's the nation itself and how it conducts itself. Do we have problems? Most certainly. We have many problems in this country. But, the founding documents is a blueprint to construct yourself a government that works pretty good. I know a lot of people love to say, oh, well, everything about the United States is broken. Immigration is broken. The banking system is broken. Printing money is broken. Our foreign policy is broken. The military is broken. Our health insurance is broken. This is broken and that is broken. But is it really broken, or was it designed in such a way to where we set it up in a certain way and then make it to where it's really hard to change it. For a good reason, because we see that this works. I'm just saying. And I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. But I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. And look, y'all, I apologize for the birds. And I think I'm going to have to eliminate these guys because I used to be a bird guy, right? I have these bird nests all over the damn place. But somehow, these birds have worked their way into the roof of my building out here and have created a nest up there. And I guess it's not insulated very well from the tweets of the little bitty birdies. Now, I'm not going to eliminate the birds like you would in some anime or something like that, right? I would think about moving their nest, sure. Which, it's okay, by the way. Yes, you can, as a matter of fact, go to a little birdie nest, pick up a bird and say, oh, look how cute. Then put it back into that nest, and no bad results will come from that. Yes, that can happen. I do it all the time, or I used to do it all the time. As a matter of fact, I've raised several wild birdies. If you want to say that me raising them, they're no longer wild birdies, sure, go ahead. But they were released back into the wild, and they survived. As a matter of fact, there was video on my other YouTube channel, there still is, of a sparrow, as a matter of fact, me tweeting out to a sparrow in a tree, and that sparrow coming and landing on my finger. It was one that I raised from an egg, as a matter of fact. That was abandoned. It fell. The storm came through, and a bunch of eggs in the nest happened to land on the ground, and I happened to see it, so I took them to see if I could raise these little guys. And I did. And I've been infatuated ever since, as a matter of fact. But, I do leave nature alone. And that's why if you always hear birdies tweeting in the background of my videos, that is why I never expected them to get through the tiny little bitty vent hole that's up there in the top of my shop to come in and just crash the video, if you will, and start tweeting up a storm while I'm trying to talk. It's very distracting, and it makes these videos kind of hard to do. But, I love birdies. Sorry, not sorry, really, but I've got these nests all over the place. As a matter of fact, I might as well throw up a video of some birdies that I saw in a nest right over there. I've got other videos too. I've got all kinds of video content of birdies, little baby birdies, and me feeding birdies and blah, 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 blah. It goes on. Some people told me I should have started a YouTube channel, but it's a lot of work, y'all. It really is. Because the little baby birdies, they have to be taken care of. Like, you have to be there constantly. And I can't do that, folks. I have a day job, as a matter of fact. And you have to be there to feed them ever so often. You got to keep them at a certain temperature and blah, 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 blah. And you get it. And I don't have the ability to go and sit on them, for crying out loud. Sure, you got heat blankets and all this other nonsense, but they need interactions, folks. They really do. And they need somebody to be there to feed them whenever they get hungry and to clean up their poo and, to make sure they don't roll over upside down, because if they roll over upside down and another baby in the nest gets on top of them, they could suffocate and die. They need attention just like our babies do. They need a lot of attention, but not for very long because they grow up quickly. Very, very quickly. But I'm rambling at this point, so y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.